And I'd like to first introduce our superintendent, Dr. Ed Cora.
Thank you, Mr. Graff. First of all, I'd like to welcome everyone, all of our parents. It says a lot that you've taken the time after probably a very busy day to get on and to receive some training from our cast of all-stars. So I'd like to quickly introduce, we have a teacher on special assignment, Julie Bergman. Teacher on special assignment, Adam Gratt. Also teacher on special assignment, Alfredo Varela. And we have our technology expert, Marco Reyes. So between the four of them, you have an all-star lineup. Whatever questions you throw at them, I'm sure they're gonna be able to answer. But again, I wanna thank you very much for jumping on, taking the time to learn about this most challenging time that we're going through and educating our students. Trust all of us, our preferences that we had your children in class, live, and in front of us. But because we cannot at this time, we are doing the very best of what we have, and that's using technology to our advantage. So I'm gonna turn it over to our team and I'm gonna let them take it from here. And again, thank you very much for being on this evening.
All right, thank you, Dr. Cora. All right, so we've already got the introductions here, so we'll get started. And for those that just joined us, just so you know, we are recording. But if you want, you can always put your questions in the chat box. My co-host, Julie Bergman, will be answering questions throughout the time, or you can wait till the end. We will save some time for you guys to ask questions later. So let's get started. All right, so I think we're going to have a great crowd tonight. So tonight, what we're going to do with support is, with these ever-changing events that are going on, we want to make sure that you guys have the basic knowledge of how you can help your student achieve success in this year's school year. And we have a lot of teachers out there working really hard right now to make sure that they have the best education possible during these times. And with your guys' help, then we can definitely achieve that goal. So you see at the bottom of your screen there that we have 3 ways that you can either ask for help or find help. We have our help desk. You can always call us at 933-8980. We also have our email address, helpdesk@sdunifiedsd.org. And we are always adding stuff to our parent resource page. So you can visit us at that website as well. So tonight's agenda, what we'll focus on is a big one, just common concepts of the Chromebook and how to troubleshoot the Chromebook to make sure that you get the most out of it. Google Classroom basics. We'll go over a few things to help you to cover how to help your students turn in assignments and view their assignments and check their grades. And how to have a successful Zoom or Meet meeting, because teachers are doing one or the other there. And at the very end, we'll open it up for questions. So let's start with Chromebook troubleshooting skills. So first, obviously, we have our Chromebook. You have your power cord that comes along with it. If anything happens to it, please let us know. Accidents happen, but we want to make sure that your student does not go long without having a Chromebook. So if something were to happen to it, please email the help desk, and we can make sure that you can go to your site and you can check out a different one as well. So we want to make sure that you guys are good to go in there. If there's a hotspot issue, you can always call us. If you need one, please email us or give us a call, and we can make sure that you can do that. And just so we know, we can check out, you guys go to your sites and you'll be able to check out a Chromebook if you don't have one already, or if something happens, you can go to your site to check one out there. So if you look on the right hand side of your Chromebook, you have a little port. It's a USB port. On the left side of it, you have a few more. So of course we have the power. We have something called an HDMI cable input, and then we have another USB. And the last one that we use is the headphones. Now, in reality, you're going to use the power and the headphones. Some of you guys will only use the power button. So we just want you guys to know which ones are which. We will not be asking, teachers are not going to be doing assignments where you have to be plugging stuff into this. So if you have headphones, great, then use those. That helps with the kids when they're trying to focus on their distance learning. So a few tips and tricks. So we all know there is a couple places to turn the power on and off, but the power button on your keyboard is right here in the top right corner. And one of the tricks is if you hold that button down for about 5 seconds, there's a little power emblem that comes on the screen, and then it'll go black. That's what's called a hard turn off. We want to make sure that you are turning those computers off, doing a hard turn off. Every night would be great, but if you miss a night, it's not the end of the world. The reason for that is because when you do a hard turn off, instead of just like when you're on the screen and you just close the screen when it's still on, that's called putting it in sleep mode. That doesn't allow for updates. So we want you to do a hard turn off, so that way when you turn it back on, the Chromebook basically checks into our servers to see if there's any updates, and it helps clean up stuff on the Chromebook. So things that will happen if you don't do a hard turn off it's 2 or 3 days at least, you'll start seeing little glitches happen. Like the day before it was working fine, and now all of a sudden this menu bar keeps popping up, or this tab doesn't work right. Restarting the computer is going to fix the problem 9 times out of 10. So before you call tech, do that hard turn off and turn it back on and then check it. Chances are you're going to fix the problem that way. Now if you're used to a PC, like a laptop or a desktop, then you have what's called a right finger click on the mouse. You know, there's 2 buttons on that mouse. When you right click, a menu pops up wherever the mouse is. Well, if you look on the Chromebook, there are no right click and left click. So the way you do a right click is use 2 fingers and you tap down wherever, put the mouse over whatever you're working on. And if you do a 2-finger click, it brings up the menu. So you can pick either copy and paste, and you can't print off of them, but there's a few other options on there for you. Okay. Most of the time, your students are going to be saving the files or saving pictures. They're not going to need to do a screenshot, but in case they do need to use it, we have what's a screenshot. So you hold the control button down right down on the bottom left, and then you'll click the home button there. And by doing that, a little window pops up and says, do you want to save this to clipboard? And you say yes, and then you can go and paste it wherever you need to. Okay. Now, the first thing when you open up the Chromebook is obviously you want to make sure that the Wi-Fi is connected. So when you come down here to the corner, then you'll click on this. And now what you have is you will see the little Wi-Fi button right here. You'll click on this and it will search for whatever Wi-Fi's are within radius. Now, if you are using your home Wi-Fi, great, then find your Wi-Fi, put in the password, and you're good to go. If you have one of the district hotspots, you should just be able to find the Wi-Fi, should say SPUSD Wi-Fi, and then you should be able to just click on it, and there's no password needed. So it's kind of an easy fix for that. Now, once you click on that, you have these other buttons. Here's another power button you can use to shut it completely off. You have settings here, you have Bluetooth, and then accessibility features. These are where you're going to find the features on the Chromebook that can help your child if they are struggling and say your child can't read the screen very well because the words are real small. There's accessibility features on the Chromebook that will enlarge the print for them. There's features on the Chromebook that will read the text for them if they want to. So there's a lot of different options out there for being able to assist your student. Now, for most of you guys, this is for the high school 6-12 grade levels. So you're probably not going to see this, but if you do, it's not the end of the world. This is for our K-5 group. And what they do is they will, if you have any kids that are in K-5, if you weren't able to make the trainings last week, then it can show you right here, is if you're in K-5, they would click on this next arrow, and then they'd have a badge that comes up. And then what they do is they'll flash that badge, and it'll have a little green check mark, and it'll sign them in automatically. But for our 612 group, this should be the screen that you come across. It's going to ask you to put in your username, and just so you know, your child's username is the first letter of their first name, first letter of their last name, and the last 4 digits of their 7-digit school ID number. Most of the younger kids, older kids especially, they already know their 7-digit number because they've typed it in for years. But if they don't, so take for example, John Stevens' ID is 1234567, then his username would be JS4567. Okay? And the password is going to be their Student Connect password. If they don't know it, please contact your teacher and they can run the list and be able to find the password. Don't click on this forgot email. It's not going to work. So just email your teacher and they'll be able to assist you in fixing that. Then you'll put in your password. And this will take you to this screen. So the home screen for Google, most of the kids now, 6 and 12, they already know about the waffle here, right here. But there's another spot where there's some programs that don't work well with Google. So we had to have another program called Clever. So that way the kids only have to know one login. If we didn't have Clever, the kids honestly would probably have about 6 or 7 logins right now that they're going to have to try to remember all of them. So having it in what we call the waffle and this little puzzle piece up here will allow them to not have to worry about all these passwords anymore. Just remember Google and you're good to go. So we're going to first start with a puzzle piece up here. If your child clicks on that, this menu pops up and it looks like a lot of stuff, but in reality, the only thing you're going to really use is this Clever icon right here. And if you tap on this little pin right here, it'll actually put the Clever icon up here on the top. So you don't ever have to go into this puzzle piece again. This Chrome remote desktop, this will only be used if you call in for support. They might ask you, okay, so let's connect in. They want to remotely connect into your Chromebook so that way they can see what's going on and help you out that way. But once you pin this right here, you will never have to go into this puzzle piece again. Okay? So we'll click on Clever so you can take a look. So if you have children that are in the K-5 group, this is pretty much what they're going to see. The programs do vary. Then in the 6-8 group, these are predominantly the tiles that they're going to see in Clever, but they also, again, some of them are going to vary just a little bit. Then in the high school level, these are the ones right now. We are going to be adding more for different programs, so just you keep on looking here and it will change it. They'll be changing occasionally. And again, there is no login needed for this. So if you've ever asked a password, then something else is wrong. So rebooting it will usually clean it up and then you'll be able to log in that way. So let's take a look at the waffle here. So this is the first part. Now you can rearrange these so your students might look a little different because they can drag these tiles into any order that they want. But just so you guys are aware, Gmail, Drive, Docs, Classroom, and Slides are going to be the major ones that they're going to use. They may use Calendar just to keep things organized, but for the most part, these are the ones that they're going to use the most. So you can rearrange these so that way they're at the top. Now, if they scroll down, they will see these programs here. Pearson is the English program for high school. Okay? And they will, like in Isabel, they will probably use McGraw-Hill for Study Sync. So let's look at how to access some of the features there. So when you click on this little circle down here, this bar will pop up, and you see here it says Zoom, Files, Docs, Chrome, and Gmail. Now these will change because it's trying to figure out what are the ones that you've used the most. They're going to put little connections there for you. So you might use Gmail, and guess what? Gmail's all the way in the front. So these are always going to be changing the more you use them. Okay. Now, if you don't see a program that you need, so let's say you want to get to your camera, you can click on that little circle, and then this will pop up full screen, and you'll see all the other options. Now, there are some programs in the web store that they can use for class, but it's not just a free-for-all. So unless it's whitelisted, then they're not going to be able to access a lot of that stuff. So unless the teacher says this is something you need to add to your Chrome browser, then they can go in there, search for it, and then download it that way. But other than that, they're not going to really get into the web store here. Settings, this is where you're going to find more of those accessibility features. So that way, there's a lot of them. And I have made 3 different videos for parents on what are some of those accessibility features. So that way you can watch them, and they are fairly short. They're less than 5 minutes long. But they go over what are some of those accessibility features. So if you have a student that is visually impaired and needs some assistance with that, you can look at there and watch the short video on accessibility features for the visually impaired, and they'll be able to help you make that adjustments on your Chromebook. Okay. Zoom is here, and camera. Some teachers might ask for you to do a project and then take a picture of it with your Chromebook. What you do is you go here, click on the camera, and the camera will turn on. You just hold up your project, take a picture, and it saves it into your files. And then your student can then upload it to their assignments that way. Okay. Now, just so you're aware that Zoom and we'll talk about Google Meet, students cannot start a Google Meet or a Zoom with their school ID. So this icon, really, they're not going to use it that much. It's just there so that way it helps with when they boot it up. But they will click on links from the teacher to do that. So we got all the other features here, but for the most part, you'll go into the waffle and use it that way. Okay. So let's take a look at Google Classroom now. So with Google Classroom, what you do is you click on here, and then you would click on Classroom. So, okay. Now, when you go here and then into your classroom, your student, now if you're at Isabel, you'll have a couple of these. If you're at the high school, obviously you're going to have more, but each tile represents a class. And so when you look here, these are some cool little features that you do. So let's say your child is at the high school and they have all their classes, and you want to look at see what they need to do. If you click on this little to-do box right here, what's going to happen is you'll get a screen that's going to show all the assignments in their classes that they still need to do. So you don't have to go through each individual class to find out what they need to do. Just click on to-do and you'll see everything. And if you click on the calendar right here, so if you're at the high school, then if you have 6 classes, if you click on calendar, every one of those classes has its own Google Calendar, and it's all connected together. So if you were to click on calendar, if the teacher made a due date for the assignment, it's going to pop up on the calendar, so that way you can see when are things due. So we're going to just take a look at this real quick. So this is the science class. Okay. Now, stream is your basic, this is where announcements go. If the teacher wants to post something for the whole class, they post it here. It'll also post if they put an assignment in Classroom, they will put an announcement down here also. So if there are due dates on any of the assignments, then they will show up here letting your child know, hey, this assignment's coming up, you got 3 days left, you got 2 days left. So it keeps them reminding them about what they need to work on. We're going to talk about this link later, but this is the Google Meet link. Okay. In classwork. So this is obviously self-explanatory. It's where all your classwork goes. So when you're in here, you have view your work. So for this class, this view your work, it will allow you to break it down. So think several months from now or whatever, you have 20 different assignments in here, and you don't know which ones are due, which ones are assigned to you. Have you just turned any of them in? You go right here, you can click on missing, and it will tell you what assignments you haven't turned in yet, or your child hasn't turned in yet. So we're going to go up to, you can go up to assigned, which will also, again, look at the assignments. So we're going to take a look at this. So this one's already been turned in. We're going to reverse this out. get rid of this for you so we can see from the beginning. All right, so let's take a look at this. So when this science project, we're just going to keep it short because of time-wise, but let's say the teacher wants them to watch a video, and then after the video to create a Google Doc and have them answer the questions about what they learned about the video. So they'll click on the video, it'll open up, they'll play the video, and then they will go over here to add or create. And if they've already created the file, then they can go to Google Drive and look for it. The link is for a website. They want to go to there. They want to turn that in. Files, this is if it's off of, this is where you would go. So if you took a picture of something, you'd click on File and it would go to your computer, and that's where you're going to upload that picture from. But we're going to do a Google Doc. So we're going to click on Doc. Then it's going to take a second. It's creating a Google Doc. The window's going to pop open with the Google Doc. And the cool little feature on here is it will automatically put the student's name and the name of the assignment on the project. So the students don't have to put their name every single time on a Google Doc, if they do it this way. If they don't, if they like go into Google Drive and then open up Docs, then that doesn't do it that way. So this is tied specifically to the assignment. And you can tell because this turn in button is right here. If there's no turn-in button, and I've seen this several times in the middle and high school, the students are wondering, why don't I have a turn-in button? And the reason is because they went to the waffle, then they went to Docs, opened up a doc and started working on it. It's not the end of the world. Just like where I showed you with the Google Drive, they can go to Google Drive if they've already got it done. Google Drive, look for the document, and then upload it that way. So it's just one less step that students have to take if they do it this way. Okay. Another cool feature is with Google Docs, and we're not going to get into a whole lot of detail. This could be another training, but with Google Docs, as long as they keep typing in here, it's going to keep saving it. So it's not like a PC where you have to keep going up and hitting save. So when you keep typing, and you'll see it up here, right in here, it's saying it's saving it. So let's say your child's working on an assignment, and the whole computer just goes down. Like it goes black, you can't even turn it back on. There's nothing you can do, nothing's gonna work. It's okay, we'll swap out the machines. You can even go to a PC and log into their Google account that way, and they can go right back to the assignment. They will not lose anything at all. So we wanna make sure, I know that's kind of stressful for some, especially if they've been using a PC for a long time, they're always looking for the save button. There is no save button in Google because you are saving it every time you type in it. And that goes for Google Slides and Sheets, everything. So kind of cool little feature. So let's say we are all done with this assignment. And now you see there's another turn-in button right here. So let's say we're done with this. Your child says, I'm done with this assignment. I don't need to do anything else. We're going to turn it in. Turn it in. Now, you still see the document right here, but if you open it up, it's only in a view mode, which means you can't edit it. So this is the same thing as if you were to hand in your paper or your student's paper to the teacher. You can look at it from their hands, but you can't work on it while they're holding it. So let's say your child says, I turned it in, oh, but I forgot to do something to it. I needed to add another picture, or I needed add another paragraph. Then you can go to unsubmit, unsubmit. And then this is the same way as bringing it back to you. You're asking the teacher to give it back to you. You can keep working on it. Once you're done with it, then you can turn it back in, okay? And you're all set. And this goes for all the assignments. Now, some things in Google Classroom are just material, which means that it could be like a syllabus. It could be just a resource page that a teacher wants them to have. That's not something graded. But if it's an assignment, then that's where they're going to go to do that. All right. So we'll go back here. And one thing I wanted to show you guys is, so let's say this is your child's homepage for Classroom. I share this with you guys so that way nothing happens, but like if they were to click on here, you see it says unenroll. Right now, if they unenroll, it wipes everything out from the teacher's gradebook automatically. So right now they may have 1 or 2 assignments in there, but say months from now, or even when we go back to school and they still use Google Classroom, you could have 60 or 70 assignments in there. And if they hit unenroll, they will wipe out all their grades from the teacher. And now they got to redo them all. So I share that not to say, oh, let's do it. I share that with you so that way we don't have kids that accidentally hit unenroll, because then they got to turn in all those assignments all over again. So we want to kind of stay away from those 3 dots there. Okay. All right. So that's Google Classroom. Now there's, like I mentioned before, there's 2 programs that we use for online classes, which we have Zoom and Google Meet. And as we've learned from Zoom today, they're still working on some issues. So it is what it is. So they'll use either one of them. So with Zoom and Meet etiquette, we want to make sure that parents know a little bit about what to try to perceive for your students, so that way that they are they get the most out of the class. So for one, obviously, I know this one's really hard, and this one too, but if at all possible, if they can find a quiet place, so that way they can focus on what the teacher's saying. I have a hard time when other noises are going on and people are trying to talk to me. It's very difficult for me. So we want to make sure that they have the ability to be in a quiet place, so that way they don't have those distractions and constantly asking those questions that the teacher just went over. Now in the chats, there are options to be able to raise your hand digitally. So you don't have to have the student unmute and then say, hey teacher, just raise the hand, the teacher will see it. And then when they get done with what they're doing, they can call on those students and be able to answer their questions. Always mute yourself when you're not talking. So that obviously, like with us right now, we have, I don't know, 20, 30 people in the group right now. If everyone unmuted, we're going to hit all those sounds from all those houses in here. And it's going to be even more confusing and no one's going to be able to hear the teacher. So unless they are talking to the teacher, then always keep yourself muted, just so it makes it a little bit smoother. Another one that is really important is, obviously, you're bringing a camera into your home and letting people see what's behind your student. So we recommend, if you can, have the student have their back to the wall, so that way your privacy is respected. We don't want anything coming across the screen that's maybe too much for students or something that you didn't want other people to see. So if at all possible, try to have their back towards a wall, and it makes it a little bit easier for them. So let's take a look at Zoom meeting. So they're going to go down here. Again, if they have a link from the teacher, they're just going to click on that link that's in probably Google Classroom, but they'll click on that circle and then they'll see Zoom. Some teachers, we're trying to make sure that they don't, but some teachers will send the meeting ID number and the password to the students, and then you would have to go into Zoom and do it that way. But for the most part, students aren't going to have to do any of that stuff. Okay. So let's say you get into Zoom. Okay. So you have your microphone, join with audio in the bottom left corner. You have your video there also in the bottom left. Whenever there's a line through it, it means it is turned off. So we want to make sure that if you don't want, you want to turn that audio off when you're not speaking with the teacher. Participants tells you who's in the group, and then obviously the chat is where you can go to ask questions. And then you have share, which share will obviously allow you to share your screen if the teacher allows it. Most of the time, the teacher doesn't need other students sharing their screen, so that is usually disabled. And then up here, you see gallery view. This is for you can change the view of the layout. So you can have a grid, which would have all the students on there. You can change that so that way it's just the person speaking. Or you can have it where it's just the teacher and all the other students on the side. So there's all other options there. And then up here, the gear up here is where if you click on it, that's where you can check your audio. So let's say you join the Zoom and you can hear them, but they can't hear you. Chances are you have your audio muted. But Yeah, now, if they can hear you and you can't hear them, chances are your volume is turned all the way down. So those are little things you want to check just to make sure that they're all turned up so everyone can hear when you need to speak. And then at the bottom right corner is where you leave the meeting. So that way you can exit when you need to. All right. Now Google Meet. Google Meet's here in the waffle here. Okay. Or, well, again, your students cannot start a meeting, so they have to get a link from their teacher. So we're going to go into Google Classroom. Okay. And then from here, you'll see the Meet link here. Students will click on it. And this will always pop up. So it's going to want to use your microphone and camera. If you hit block, then obviously you're not going to be able to speak to anyone and they're not going to see you. So you want to make sure that you'll always hit allow. And then this will come up to enable notifications. You want to make sure that you hit allow. Now, if your child joins a Google Meet and the teacher hasn't started it already, this is the window that you're going to get. Okay? It hasn't started. From this window, you can't do anything. So you would exit out. You'd click on the little X up here at the tab, and you go back to your classroom, and you'd wait for the teacher to start. Sometimes students get in there a little bit early, but you want to wait till that teacher starts it. Once the teacher does start it, then you're going to get a screen like this. Now at the bottom again, just like in Zoom, you have your microphone and your camera. If it's red with the line through it, that means it's off. If the microphone with the microphone on, you see that it is open there that's black. So, and then down here, the three little dots is where there's settings you can go to. But we're going to join the meeting, join it now, and then you're going to get to this screen. Now, you'll see these three little lines down here. This is where you're going to go to check settings. So you can change the layout. You can go full screen. You can turn on your captions. This works for some students that they may be better at visually seeing the words. So you can turn this on. Only when you turn this on, you're the only one that sees it. So you're not turning it on for everyone else. So you can use this if you'd like. The settings is where you're going to find your volume and your microphone. And the rest of the stuff we're not really going to deal with. Okay. Up here is the chat box. So if your child wants to ask a question, you click on the chat box and they can type it in and it can send it to the teacher that way. Now down here in present now obviously if you're on a Chromebook, then these are your three options. If you're on a PC, you want to make sure that you're using your Chrome browser. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. But I'm noticing there are a lot of glitches with Firefox right now. So I have, like this presentation, I have to use Chrome because Firefox isn't letting me present with Google Slides. So I'm all Chrome right here. If you're using Chrome, you're going to see this little Chrome tab. Now this option is for like if you're trying to share a presentation with audio. You click on that, it'll open up the tab, and then you can set it up where it will play the video. Now with the internet being the way it is a little glitchy. So I always recommend turning the video separately, then the teachers can watch it that way. And I'm telling the teachers also share the videos and don't play it like this because it gets blurry and pixelated and there's some issues involved. So if you just share your entire screen, then this is the place to go for where there's not any lag time. And this is actually the best one to use, especially if you're not using any audio. So in the end, we want to make sure you guys know the help desk is always here for you. So you can call us at that number below. The email address, helpdesk@SPUnifiedSD, is also an easy way to get in touch with us. Obviously, the phone call is a little bit faster. And at santapaulaunified.org/parent resources. So we wanted to make sure that you have it, whatever you guys need. Please, if any questions, please give us a call so we can help you. We want to, and we are very dedicated to making sure your student is successful this year. So let us know what's going on. If there's something you need, please let us know, and we're more than happy to help you guys out in whatever way possible. And with that said, we'll open it up for questions. I don't know if my co-host Julie has questions for me.
There's a one question that a little bit has to do with gradings and checking grades online. So for Google Classroom, you can, as a parent, provide your email address to the teacher and they can sign you up as the guardian of your student. What that will allow you to see is you can get notifications if your children have a missing assignment or of upcoming assignments or class activities, announcements that might be posted in the stream. But in Google Classroom, you won't have access to the grades that they've received on those assignments. To check grades, you do that in Parent Connect. And another question was about how often the teachers are grading. So I reached out to both of the principals. I've heard back from the high school principal that she is requiring teachers to input grades at least once a week. And I'm waiting to hear back from the middle school principal. So I know if the high school is at least once a week, I would assume the middle school is at least once a week as well. But Parent Connect is where you would check for grades.
And some of you might see that some teachers have turned on the grade book. Most of them don't. But if they do, just know, talk to your teacher, because the teacher doesn't put in the attendance point, like participation and all that stuff in Google Classroom, no matter what, because that's a totally separate thing. So like Julie said, always go to Parent Connect and look for the grades there.
Adam, if you pin the teacher, can you still view the teacher's presentation?
Usually you can pin the teacher, but the presentation is what's going to take up the most room.
Okay. There were no more questions in the chat, but I can unmute everybody if you would like, and if you want to just ask a question.
Here, while you guys are doing that, one other thing that comes up, because I just looked at Marco and I remember a question he will want to ask. So with the Wi-Fi, so if you're using your personal Wi-Fi and you notice it's getting a little bit.
Hang on, Adam. Hang on, Adam.
Huh? Oh, sorry. I don't know how much I was muted there. But with your Wi-Fi, make sure that you just restart it and see if that might fix some of the Wi-Fi issues. I know we're having some spots in Santa Paula here, so where the reception's not the greatest, but if something were to happen, please just email your teacher, let them know. We're more than understanding of things that come up, but please keep in contact with the teacher so that way they know that everything's okay, because we're still working out some of the glitches. So.
And Isabella has her hand raised. She has a question. Isabella, go ahead and unmute yourself and you can ask Adam. Now, let me see, maybe I can unmute you. Can I unmute you?
Hi there, this is Greg Orozco, Isabella's father.
Oh, sorry, it said Isabella, I'm sorry.
No worries. I was wondering if I was able to get on like email notification as well for student reminders. Like, is there a parent portal that we have?
You have Parent Connect, but then you also, if you give your teachers your email address, they can hook it up into Google Classroom, so that way they can push out notifications of, it's a basic report of what their assignments were, what they've got, things like that.
Got it. So I need to give my teachers my email address.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would I be able to email the help desk for them to help me with that issue?
Yeah. If you need to know, do you know your students' teachers' names?
I do. I mean, I have access to that information, but I mean,
okay, no problem.
I don't know. There should be like a quick access to them, you know?
Yeah, well, actually, you can call help desk and they can help you, or you can also, when your child's logged into Classroom, you can go into, now, what grade is your child in?
10th.
10th, okay. So what you can do is when they go into Google Classroom, and you can go into each class and you can email the teacher from, there's a tab called People. Click on that and their teacher's email address is right there. But that's one way. So you can call help desk and we're more than happy to help, or you can go in that way like tonight and just open the class up, go to People and click on teacher's little envelope next to their name, and then you can email them that way.
All right, I appreciate it.
No problem. Good question.
All right, another question. If a student has issues with Zoom during class, how can they communicate with the teacher to advise? So that's a good question, and that came up so much today. Thank you everybody for your patience as Zoom and Google Meets and Clever and everything just kind of went up in smoke. So what we've been doing at the help desk, if you email us or call us, we can directly email your child's teacher and let them know that you're experiencing technical difficulties and that your child was trying to get a hold of them and unable to. Or if you can directly also email the teacher and let them know. So there was a lot of grace extended today because the internet was just exploding. Okay, Adam, here's another question. On Zoom, how do we share our screen?
On Zoom, so there in the bottom right corner, you'll see there's a share button. Click on that, and then a window will pop open with all the screens that you have. That's why when you're in class, when you have tons of tabs open, it makes it a lot more confusing. So if you just have like 1 or 2 tabs, you'll see the tabs, you'll click on the tab. And if you want to share audio, there's a little button in the bottom left that says share audio of that window. You check that box and then you can share your screen. And if you need to play a video, you can play the video through there.
And also in the class, sometimes the teachers may not enable the sharing of the screen. So like in this meeting, we don't have, only the co-host can share the screen. So it kind of depends on the teacher asking. I'm gonna put the help desk email in the chat because some people were asking for the help desk email address.
We can go back there. Start.
Oh, you're faster than I was. Any other questions?
Let's see.
If you have any friends that weren't able to make it to the meeting tonight, this is being recorded, and so it will be posted on the website for you. Here's another question. Will the issues with the system count against the kids' attendance? So the issues that happened today will not be counted against the kids' attendance for today. And anytime if you're having issues with your connectivity, if you reach out to the help desk or you reach out and email the teacher directly, they can mark that down as contact with the student for that day if there is technical difficulties. Do the kids have to have the camera on while they are on Zoom so the teacher knows they are there?
Yes, but we understand certain situations. It's just a check-in because they don't want students to join the meeting and then take off and then they never hear anything. So we would like them to turn the camera on at least to show that they're there, because a lot of teachers are doing a lot of interactive stuff. So they want, and it's a way for the teachers to gauge where they're, how involved the kids are. Which brings up one more point that we want to make sure we're, to help you guys, is we want you guys to be as involved as possible with your students. We love parent involvement. We want to also make sure, because of the way the situation is right now, when students take those tests online, we want to make sure that they take it by themselves, because when they do that, it gives the teacher a better gauge of where they're at in their academics, and then that can tell the teacher this is where we need to focus on. So if they are getting a lot of extra help and they ace the test, let's say, the teacher thinks, oh, everything's perfect, and then things can go wrong because they don't have the right data to know where your child's at. So helping them with their homework, getting them to get more involved is great. When it comes to the test, let them take their test so that way we can see where they really fall in the category of their grades.
And also, as far as the camera goes, if there's a situation and a student or a family is really not comfortable with having the camera on, I would recommend that you just reach out to the teacher and let them know, so they know that the kids aren't logging in with their camera off and then taking off to go play basketball or something else. So that, you know, everyone is very sensitive to in different situations. So definitely just if it's a situation where something happens and there's a reason the camera's not going to be on that day, just let the teachers know.
Yeah, and I would also add that you know, I think it's also fine to have the camera off. However, like Adam mentioned earlier, if the teacher has scheduled like a group, you know, breakout session where the kids are working in little groups, you know, we want them to also participate, right? So, you know, again, they could have their camera off, but they need to participate, right? So as long as they're there and they're participating, it should be fine.
I just thought of one more little nugget for you guys, is in Google Classroom. This happens at least a couple times a year. A student works on their assignment and you saw where I was going to turn it in. They accidentally exit out and got rid of the whole assignment out of there. They did all the work and it's gone out of Google Classroom. It's actually not gone. All you need to do is go into Google Drive and then search for your student's name, and all the files with your student's name on it will show up, and you'll find that assignment already saved in there. Like I told you, it's always being auto-saved. So I've seen some parents getting like anxious, like my child just did all this assignment, they just spent hours on it, and they hit the X button and wiped it out. It's not the end of the world. Just go into Google Drive and you can upload it through there. So
There's some good questions tonight.
yeah, love the questions.
All right, anything else? We have a few more minutes.
Marco, from the tech side, is there anything else you saw as far as, except for the Wi-Fi?
Not really. I think we went over the basic stuff. And again, if you guys have any questions regarding tech or need help, you guys can always reach us at the tech line and we'll be able to help you guys.
And don't give up if the phone line was busy. This morning, I don't know, I had like 70 calls this morning. So keep trying.
Before 8:15.
Yeah.
Well, we'll stay on for a little bit because we have another training in a few minutes. But if you want to stay on and ask any more questions, we're more than happy to stay on for a couple more minutes. If not, thank you guys very much for coming tonight. I know your time is precious, and we'll make this year as successful as possible with your students. And don't hesitate to communicate with your teacher or contact us if you need any assistance. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.